Hello, Archie. How are the markets?
Hello, sir. Everything is shipshape and Bristol fashion.
Ah, excellent. Have you found any new trades with those auto charting tools of yours?
Indeed. While you've been enjoying martinis, I've plotted 3 swing trades for today and found 10 more scalping opportunities.
What? I only activated you yesterday, and you're already finding those gains. I've got to come and see this. So, I'm back with Archie for part 2 on auto charting tools, where I'm going to be sharing the remaining 5 features of this tool, which are the auto-plotted trend lines, the Fibonacci retracements, the candle identifier types here, and also the time frame sessions marked by the vertical shaded areas, and lastly the daily, weekly and monthly pivots. Now, I know that auto charting tools has in total 9 different features, and there is a lot here to get your head around. But the way I like to think about this is I'm a big Star Trek fan, and it kind of reminds me of the Borg, right? And they have all these like extra implants and the tools on their arm with these gadgets, and then a laser eye to scan things, and they have this like protective suit, and all these things are like developed to gain an advantage over their adversaries, right? And this is similar with trading. With these tools, you're trying to gain an edge and get that like second, third or fourth layer of detail of what's going on in the market to give you an edge so you can reduce your losses, increase your gains on each trade, improve your win rate, and overall become a more successful trader. So if that sounds good to you, let's dig in. Next, we have the Trendlines feature. This actually uses the same calculation logic as the swing points we saw earlier, and it will essentially plot those trend lines in between those swing points. Generally, it works best on the higher time frames, and I use this very occasionally just to give me some ideas where possible trend lines might be. So here, it's this one in the menu, trend lines, and you can either choose to plot from the candle wicks or the bodies. You can change the sensitivity, which will change where those swing points are, exactly the same as before. And yeah, there you are. It's plotting on some helpful trend lines. And then you might like one of these. I don't know, let's try and find there. That looks like it was useful. Let's turn this off. See, it's shown us there was a trend line connecting these high points, and if we zoom in, price did actually come back up to test that trend line again, so that could have been an interesting short trade opportunity. I don't tend to trade on trend lines that much, but at least this tool can give you some extra ideas when you're planning your trade setups. The next feature is the Fibonacci Retracements tool. So this calculation uses a higher time frame moving average to figure out whether price is uptrending or downtrending, and therefore which way it's going to pull the Fibonacci retracement for you. It has that sensitivity option again, although in this case the sensitivity will change the look back period on the candles, which will make the Fibonacci pull either be sort of faster and closer to the current price action or slower and further away from the current price action. Also, this tool will depend which time frame chart you're on as to where it pulls the fibs from. Because of all the variables in the background. And generally, I just find this could be helpful for a beginner trader if they were unsure where to pull the Fibonacci retracements from and where are the correct swing points. Although personally, I prefer to do this manually using the swing points feature we looked at earlier. But anyway, it's still a helpful tool. You can find it here in the menu options. This will determine whether it's pulling kind of regular fibs or reverse fibs in terms of the direction, if you want to force it to do that. And there's the sensitivity option. And then, yeah, you can see here's the fib pull over here, and it's showing you those key Fibonacci points that price may get a reaction to. And if I turn back on the swing points, it should match up with where this pull is being done. So let's try that. So there you go, it's loaded, and you can see there's our higher high swing point, there's the lower low, and this Fibonacci tool is using those swing points to pull the fib. The next tool is a simple candle identifier. So this has a volume filtering algorithm in the background, and it will only show you specific candle types that you want to examine in the charts. And generally you will find this is only useful on a 4-hour time frame or above. It doesn't work very well on the lower time frames. And again, this is only kind of an introductory tool for beginners or for to be used by trading coaches and teachers to help learn about the basic candle types. Although I don't personally use this one. But anyway, you can find it in the menu options down here, and you select which type of candle you're looking for. So for example, an engulfing candle, or maybe let's say a doji, and then it will try to pick out which candles actually have some importance based on their volume weighting. So here we are. And obviously green is bullish, red is bearish. So there you are. We've had a bearish candle, and then it's been engulfed by that bullish candle here. Or here's a good example from the bearish side. We've had a few positive candles here, and then a massive bearish engulfing there. Here we are. And then there's an example of a doji. But like I said, this is more aimed for beginners. So use that as you wish. I'm going to look at this daily, weekly, monthly pivots first. So while that's loading, give a quick explanation. The pivots, this is a calculation to show the average daily, weekly, or monthly price as a horizontal line. And that uses a high-low close divided by 3 calculation. And then the tool connects each historical average, say daily level, and just plots this as lines. And then the second one, the POCs, that's an older forecasting tool, again, predicting possible reaction levels. And that uses Heikin-Ashi candles and prior 3-day data on a OHLC4 candle closes basis. Now, the idea with both these is essentially when you see the overlapping lines, it can help you to spot simple reversals or continuation trends. So if I turn on, that's showing the daily at the moment. So you can see in, say, that day period, it's just taken that average price throughout the whole day and plotted on a horizontal line. So while we're downtrending, it can help to show you the trend. And then if you turn on the weekly and the monthly as well, sometimes when you see these lines overlapping, it can help you spot a trend reversal a bit more quickly. So it's harder because this is ranging price action. But yeah, here, if we come back a bit, you can see the daily is above the weekly, which is above the monthly, as price is pumping up. And then here, the daily average line crosses underneath the weekly, and then the weekly crosses underneath the monthly. And that was sort of an early warning that we were then shifting into downtrending price action. So that's that one. And then if we turn this off and turn on the second feature. So yeah, this one is plotting the pivots, as it says on the tooltip here, possible points of control for candles to potentially react on those points. I don't really use that one, so I've just given you a quick flavor. And the last feature is the time frame ranges and sessions. So with this, it will show you the key time frame session times, and that can be useful to look at where momentum is building in a trend across different sessions, or possibly reversing, say between the London and New York session. Also, it can be helpful to think about when the volume is going to be injected into the market during the session open or session closing. It also has the high and low sort of levels from each session, which can be helpful to spot whether value is building with an uptrend or value declining with a downtrend. So let's look in the chart, and you will find this towards the bottom of the menu down here, time frame ranges and global sessions. So here I've turned on the New York, London and Asia sessions, which you can see color coded with these vertical bars, so you know when each session is open. So for example, that's the overnight Asia session in blue, then London opens in orange. Then this kind of pinkish color is when both London and New York are open. And lastly, in the purpley color, London's closed, and that's the US session for the rest of the day. And also the dotted lines show you the high and the low from each of those sessions. And yeah, I mean, you can see in this trend that mostly, you know, Asia have been selling, then London have been selling, and then US continues selling. Something that is interesting though, if I turn off the London and Asia, is that sometimes, let it load, you'll notice there is a reversal after the close in New York. Because essentially, let's say it's been selling all through the day in all three sessions, and then that becomes exhausted, and then you may get a bounce back in the opposite direction. So like here, for example, downtrend, end of the New York session in pink, and then you've had a move back up. Or see if we can find another example. Here, downtrending all day, and then around 8-9 o'clock, we've got a move back up after that seller exhaustion. And then the other feature in here, if we turn those off, is the daily, weekly and monthly ranges. So here with the yellow dots, we can see the high and the low of the range for all those days. And it's quite clear during this downtrend that we're getting a series of lower highs and lower lows on those from a sort of daily perspective. So next, I'll share how you could bring all these tools together and start to plan your next trade setup. So let's look at the Bitcoin chart again. And if it was me, I would start with that pivots feature we saw here in the auto charting menu about halfway down. And this helps identify the trend first of all. So you can see in the last week, the daily pivot line has crossed underneath the yellow weekly pivot line, indicating this shift to downtrending price action. And then on Friday, prices bottomed out around 54,000, and we're starting to see a bit of a ranging price action recovery here. And if you zoom in a bit further, you can see the blue daily pivot line is getting close to crossing back above that weekly pivot line, which could indicate that we're going to shift back into uptrending price action. So that gives us our bias. Maybe we want to be looking for a long trade. Next, let's turn that off. And now let's look at the Trendlines feature here in the menu for auto charting. And this is going to give us some ideas of where we could possibly look for some trend lines to get a nice trade entry. Well, at the bottom of the range, there's this trend line here. So I'm going to draw on top of that. And yeah, now we might see an opportunity where price might come down for a third touch on that trend line, which often gives good trade entries. But let's build up some further confidence with the other tools. So next, I will use the Fibonacci Retracement tool here in the menu. And let's see what that shows up. Well, it's pulled the fib from this high and low swing points. You can see here the fib lines in green. And yeah, actually, this is interesting because there's a nice confluence between this 786 fib retracement and that trend line we just pulled a moment ago. Just extend that a bit further. You see here around 56,000 where the trend line and the fib intersect. So this potentially could be an interesting zone. Next, let's say that we now wanted to plan our long trade around that level. So let's open this here. Now, a logical place to put our stop loss would be underneath the last low. So we'll set that here. And then let's aim back towards the last cluster of price action over here. There's a bit of a structure. So we'll aim for that. So there's our long trade setup. And now let's bring in some of the other tools. So next we might look at the candle types for when price comes down to that zone and comes to test this trend line. Might we get a bullish engulfing candle as price comes down there, and then it gets that buyer demand buying up as it hits the level? And you could also look at the times of the market in terms of, is it at the start of the trading session when you're expecting that volume injection, or maybe over the next few days it might downtrend towards that target level, and then at the end of, let's say, the New York session, we might get that reversal if it had been downtrending all through the day. So just let that load. So there you go, that's loaded. It's only showing us those vertical purple lines for the New York session closes. And I've also drawn on the green arrow path, which is my idea of where price might go over the next couple of days if we do see this retracement from around 58,000 back down towards this swing low area around 55.5 to 56,000. So, and lastly, if I just turn all the tools on at the same time, it's going to look a bit busy, but you can start to see how you build up that confluence by combining multiple of the tools together to help plan your trades. So I hope you find that helpful. And yeah, feel free to play around with these. I find changing the colors so it doesn't clash too much also helps. And yeah, you can really use these tools to get some great trades. So that's it from me and from Archie on auto charting tools. If you'd like to try this indicator, then check out down in the description below, and I've put the link to the MDX TrendMaster indicators, and if you use my link, you'll get a nice discount when you sign up. Also, if you'd like to learn more, then next week I'll be doing a deep dive into the RSI and stock RSI and comparing to the TrendMaster Momentum Oscillator. So definitely hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you'd like to catch the next episode. Otherwise, thanks for supporting my channel. I hope you do well with your trading, and I'll see you in the next episode. Out.